What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what's happening with the economic calendar moving forward, talk about other factors out there, which you should be watching for as time goes on. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, looking at SPY, we have this very evident head and shoulders like pattern that's still present. However, looking at the way we closed it, we formed this nice wick as some buyers did try to defend SPY at that 580 area and are trying to bring SPY back above 585. This makes me suspect there's going to be an attempt to rebound just to start things off, but there's no guarantee the move is going to last unless we try to break these EMAs. So there's always the possibility we pump and then dump again. So I'll talk more about what this could actually look like in just a couple of minutes. Let's first talk about some data. So just know that tomorrow is going to be Friday, January 3rd, 2025, the first Friday of 2025, and the first time the market's going to be looking for a very interesting close with the option expirations and typical Friday manipulation. Now at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, that's the first time we have some data coming out for tomorrow that's significant. That's 30 minutes after market open. We have the ISM manufacturing PMI, employment new orders, and prices data coming out. This is going to likely cause some high volatility. So watch for that. If the data is good and we get good new orders, especially, the market could be looking for a nice rebound. If the data is poor, the market could be looking for a big rug pull. So make sure you're prepared for this just to be safe. Expect volatility at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, one of the big highlights of the day was Tesla. They announced their sales for the end of the year of 2024. And just know their sales were not the best. We saw a slight decrease in their annual sales. Their overall sales were at 1.79 million for the whole year of 2024. That's a 1.1% drop from 1.81 million in 2023. We also saw about 495,000 deliveries for Q4. That is, although it's a new record for Tesla, it still did not meet expectations of 506,000. That's why Tesla saw a big dump. It's down 6%. So the question is, what's going to happen from here? I'll talk more about Tesla in just a couple of minutes as well. Know that for the markets, Tesla dumped 6%. However, some stocks like Nvidia and Meta were in the green, whereas the whole market was very flat or in the red. So a lot more mixed price action is what we've been seeing. And then for other pieces of data, just know that for the days of the week in terms of earnings, there's nothing really significant coming out for the rest of the week. It won't be until next week when something starts to come out. I'll talk more about that later on. There's a lot of fear right now. We're very close to extreme fear in terms of the way the market's going to be moving. We'll be watching to see if we end up holding support as we're approaching that. Momentum is also at extreme fear. This is continuing to dump as we approach our 125-day moving average. So that's showing some weakness. The put to call option ratio is going up as we're seeing more puts being bought. We'll see what that leads to. The VIX is also breaking out right now as we're approaching the much higher 18 area. So it's showing some life. Right now, everything's pointing in a weaker market. I just want to also say that tomorrow is going to be January 3rd. Please know that we have over 282,000 of these calls expiring. And we have about 260,000 puts expiring. The majority of positions are in calls. We have a 0.93 put to call ratio, with max pin being at 592.5. If I was the market maker, I would look at this and I would probably try to give us a very choppy market because the option chain is very balanced. There's a good chance that might end up happening, but we'll see just to be safe. But what I think is going to happen is to start off the day, there's going to be a push that's coming. And I say that because look at the trend in this market. So as we open, for example, if we go back to the last couple of weeks, we had this pump on the 24th of December on SPY, then we started to dip. On Friday, so that was Thursday, we pumped and then we dumped. On Friday, we pushed a bit, then we dumped. On Monday, this was December 30th. We saw the market start off on a high end and started just selling off. As time went on, it started to continue to dip. We started off higher on Tuesday than we dumped. Today, we started off higher than we dumped. So that's the trend that's on SPY. We love to push in the daytime, then slow down as the day goes on. Now, it's going to be a little bit special tomorrow because it's going to be Friday, but just know there's a very interesting trend. SPY has this support at 580. This is where buyers are going to be stepping in. And there's also support at 585-ish. So if we hold 585, there could be an attempt to get back up to these imbalances. The tough resistance happens to be at 590. That's very close to our 20 EMA and 591.5. Overall, we're in a range going back and forth, and we're trying to hold our key support. So this makes me suspect the most likely possibility SPY gets a little rebound tomorrow morning, back up to this imbalance around that 588 area. However, we need to try to get back above 590 and hold above it to really start pushing. If we can't really hold above that, the odds favor us kind of pushing it, then rejecting and coming back down to these lower levels. I also want to mention that SPY has this head and shoulders like structure. So if you look at the left shoulder here, the head and the right shoulder, it's still very evident alongside a head and shoulders on the 4-hour time frame. This is a mini one making up the right shoulder. So I suspect what's going to happen is we'll rebound a little bit to try to get back up to about this, the 588 or so area, and then there might be a rejection here and move back down towards 585, and eventually the 582 zone. Look for a rebound attempt, and we'll see if we get a rejection. So give this the time it needs. And overall, SPY is doing a pretty decent job. Look for this push attempt for 588 to 590, then we might reject and continue to dump. If 585 is retested, I think we're going to retest it. And if that fails us, we're looking for a bigger move back down to 580 flat. There's a chance we pump and dump looking at the last couple of days, and also because of the facts that the trend still suggests that. So there's no sign of a true bounce unless we break past 590 to 591. On ES, I see the same thing going on. We're going to be testing resistance around 59.25. If that breaks, we're looking for 59.50. And unfortunately, I just want to say that there's still that head and shoulders on ES's 4-hour, and we are on a bit of a downtrend as we're making lower highs right here. So I think this is favoring a test of 59.50 or so, maybe below our 20 EMA. And then as we're rejecting here, the odds do favor us kind of rejecting once we get there. Unless we break past 6,000, we turn bullish. This is favoring that we push up to about 59.50 right over here near our 20 EMA. And then we reject right off that and just continue to dip lower. Why do I say that? Because we still have this head and shoulders, and there is a downtrend technically on ES for the last couple of weeks. So we favor a pump in the morning, then a slowdown as the day goes on. That's what the trend's been doing for the last couple of days. That's the most likely possibility unless we end up holding above resistance, so give it some time. Nvidia is showing some resilience right now because we have a nice inverse head and shoulders, and we're holding up quite well. The 4-hour is looking a bit more bullish, but we haven't broken resistance. If we break 140, look for 142, and if we break that, we're looking for an attempt to get up to 146. If we lose 136, we're looking for a dip back down towards 134. My gut tells me there's an inverse head and shoulders here, and we could be dipping back down to 136 or below before it tries to rebound again. This looks like it's going to dip a little bit right here, and then maybe try to bounce off 136, try to push even higher for like 138 to 140. So look for a small dip in the morning, then attempts to bounce. I think we might be on our way for 140 as long as we hold above this. So if we dip to 136 and we lose this tomorrow, we dump back down to 134. If we dip to 136 and bounce, we're going back up to 140 most likely. I'm starting to favor that I might try to bounce a little bit to about 140 just to start things off. So I'm hoping we test 136 and bounce. We'll see just to be safe. For Bitcoin, we're on a nice uptrend right now. We're making higher highs as we're trying to bounce. There might be a retest of our 95,753 area, if not 95,000 flats before it tries to bounce again. So it's forming like a cup here, so it might dip a bit before it tries to rebound. So please keep that in mind. For others out there, we have Tesla. Unfortunately, Tesla's looking more bearish, making lower highs and lower lows. However, we held support at 375, which is where there's a demand zone right here. I also want to say that we haven't quite met our cup and handle breakout zone around that 363 area, very close to where our 200 EMA happens to be right here. So I suspect what's going to happen is we push a little bit higher. We try to get a little rebound, very close to about 85, then eventually 390, and then we could reject here and start dipping back down lower if we get some kind of rejection. There's a good chance we do end up ultimately coming back down to 363, but we might rebound first for 390 or so. There might be a little rebound on Tesla first before it continues to dip lower for 363. For NQ, we are trying to rebound. There's a downtrend technically, but there might be an attempts to get back up to about 21,250. If that breaks, we're looking for 21,400, then we could reject again, depending on if we could hold our 20 EMA or not. So look for a rebound for 21,400. We'll see if we get a rejection or not. So give this the time it needs as we're technically on a downtrend. I think we're going to push a little higher for 21,400, then we could be dipping after that. So give it the time it needs. For the QQQ, we're technically on a downtrend. We're going to be watching our support at 511. Our resistance is going to be at 517. Watch to see a little rebound attempt around that 514 or so area, and then we could reject and continue to fall. If we lose 506, we're looking for a much bigger dump. But I favor that this is going to try to push up for that 514 zone. So there is a downtrend. We had a high up here. We came down, made a lower high, and we came down. Look for a bounce here because we're seeing buyers trying to get us back up at 511. So that's a sign that they're trying to bring it back up. And then if we do break that, I'm going to be looking for an attempt to get to about 514 to 515, right back up here. This is going to be where our 20 EMA is by tomorrow. Then we might reject off that again. That's what the trend suggests. Unless we break past 517, this favors we're going to bounce and reject instead of breaking through it. So I hope that's as clear as possible. For Aapl, we look a bit more bearish. We might be testing 240. I hope we bounce off 240 to bounce. If not, we're going to be dumping even lower to like 238. So please keep that in mind. There's going to be that risk of downside. NEO has an interesting setup. They had nice deliveries at 72,000 for the quarter, and they did break their all-time high for the month of December, their all-time high deliveries. This has a double bottom. I'm hoping this tries to bounce just a little bit, unless we lose 4.5. If we lose 4.5, we turn back down. But as long as we hold that, we could attempt to get up to 4.8, so we'll see about that. Netflix is looking a little bit weaker. There is technically a double top right over here. This might attempt to retest about 900, then could reject off that again. I am seeing some weakness on this chart, but look for a small rebound for 900. We'll see if you reject. For MSTR, we dropped quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. Now we're seeing buyers defending it. However, there is still that gap down there, and then this reversal structure that's forming. So I think we could be retesting 310 to 314 before it tries to reject again. Might be a small little rebound right here. I'm going to be watching for that very closely. Celsius may retest 27.5. If that breaks, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to about the 29 area. So it might push to about 29 before it rejects. So watch and see how things end up going. For Supermicro, we're on a bit of a downtrend right here. I want to see it hold above 31. Otherwise, it favors to move all the way down towards 28 as the most likely possibility. Palantir is on a bit of a downtrend as well, but I do see an attempt for it to try to rebound. So I'm looking for the possibility that this could be like a cup and maybe a handle. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure about that, but at the very least, I do think we're going to try to retest 77 or so, 76.7 to 77.26. Look for a rebound in the 77s, and we'll see if we reject or not. If we break this, we're going to be looking for a bigger push. So look for that rebound attempt very soon. For the Rivian stock, we have a head and shoulders like pattern. We got to get back above 13.62. Otherwise, we favor 13 or below, back down towards 12.68. So there might be a small tip here before it tries to bounce. SoFi is on a bit of a downtrend, unfortunately. I'm just talking about the short term, guys, not the long term. Long term is very bullish on this. I'm just talking about the last couple of weeks. Right, we had this high here. We came down, made a lower high, came down. So that's the downtrend I'm just talking about, just to clarify that. We need to hold above 14.13 or else this is going to be dumping all the way down towards 13.5. So it does look a little bit weaker. I do see a risk of it dipping to the 13th. So just be careful. Looks bearish to me. For the IWM Russell 2000, we need to break past 225. Otherwise, there's a left shoulder, head, and a right shoulder here. If we don't get back above at least 225, we favor to move back down to 220, then 218. For let me just double check this. For AMD, we're technically on a downtrend. This has been downtrend the last couple of days, but because of Nvidia, this might try to retest 122.5. I think it's very flat now, not really doing much. So it might test 122, push, drop, and just trade sideways from there. For ARM, we have to hold 127.74. As long as we hold that, we're looking for 131. 130, then 131. If we lose this, we're looking for a dip back down to 125. I'm favoring it's going to try to push for 127. Then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For coin, we have to break past 261. If that breaks, we're looking for essentially 270. So we'll see if that breaks or not. Otherwise, we're favoring 250. I think we might see coin attempt to test 262 and maybe get close to 270 if we could break resistance. Amazon's range bound. It might try to retest 222 tomorrow, then come back down to 220. It's trading completely sideways here. The overall trend is a bit more bearish as we're technically making lower highs, but I would just say it looks range bound for the shorter term. So the shorter term looks like it's going to be fluctuating between 218 and 224. Look for an attempt to get up to 222 and maybe a move back down for sideways price action. For Meta, we look a bit more bullish because of the fact that it's trying to break out here. So it started off with the push. It dipped a little bit. Now it's trying to get bought back up again. So I want to see it hold above 600. As long as we hold 600, we're looking for an attempt to get back up to 608. If we lose 596, we're looking for a dip. But as long as we hold this, we could be looking for a push for 605 plus. For Microsoft, we're a little bit weaker here. I think there could be an attempt to get back up to about the 420 area and then 424. We'll see if we reject or not off of that, but overall, it's technically on a downtrend. So look for a bounce tomorrow. I think this is going to try to bounce looking at this wick forming here. There's going to be a rebound attempt for 424, but if we can't get above 426, we are just going to reject. So it could get close to 424 to 426, maybe like 425 around that range, and then we might reject as the most likely possibility. Unless we break 426, that's going to be most likely what happens. For Google, we have the same setup. We have a head and shoulders. There's a left shoulder, a head, and then a right shoulder. We might retest 192, then reject, and this could be leading to a move back down to about 188. Just be careful, guys. There is some weakness on this chart. I think it's very choppy right now, so I think we test 192, and then we might just continue to consolidate. GameStop's looking weaker. We got to hold above 30.76. Otherwise, we favor to move back down to about 30 flat. AMC, it might try to rebound for 4.12, but it's very flat as well. Might be a small push before it comes back down. DJT is looking a little bit weaker. We have a head and shoulders here. We need to hold above 36. Otherwise, we favor to move lower towards 33. 33 is our 200 EMA. Let's look at the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder here. That's just going to lead to more downside. The VIX is looking bullish. If we continue to hold above 16, like the 17 area, we're going to be looking for an attempt to get up to 20. It is a possibility we try to push higher. This might dip a bit first towards 17.2 before it tries to bounce. So I suspect the market's going to rebound just a little bit in the morning, but then there might be a rejection coming, just like what's been happening for the last couple of days. The 10-year Treasury yield is very flat right now. This is going to be greatly impacted by what we hear from the next inflationary reports, so just get ready for that. The dollar has been breaking out, which tends to be bearish for the markets as the market's dipping, but we'll see if the dollar comes down just a bit towards 109 if it tries to bounce again off of that. We're testing a very, very interesting support, so I do see this dipping a bit as the market rebounds. Then we'll see if the market gets rejection and this ends up bouncing. So my view of the market is very simple. I think we're going to rebound a bit tomorrow morning, but there's no guarantee the move is going to last looking at the current trend because every time we're just bought back up, we just reject on SPY, if you guys notice. So that's what the trend suggests so far. I do want to mention tomorrow is going to be Friday, so there might be extra manipulation, so be prepared for that. And that's what I'm seeing on the charts. To turn bullish, you want to break particular resistances, which I already called out, so make sure you watch them. But I'm not really leaning in that direction yet. We look like we're going to push a bit, then maybe reject so far. We'll see if resistance breaks going into tomorrow, but for now, the trend favors the bears. So we'll see what happens from here. Thank you all so much for listening. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another update, and peace out.